Talk News starts right now with a breaking news alert.
Breaking here at 10, President Trump has signed a disaster proclamation as Hurricane Harvey bears down the Texas coast as a Category 4. One local leader telling people who are not evacuating to write their names and Social Security numbers on their arms.
Look at that. The storm surge already covering some roads in Corpus Christi where a driver had to be rescued after getting trapped by floodwaters.
And this is a live look at the conditions in Galveston, where a voluntary evacuation has been issued as Harvey makes landfall as a monster hurricane. The weather authority saying that is happening as we speak.
A hurricane warning in effect for about 1.5 million people. The storm is packing maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour, and it threatens to dump as much as 40 inches of rain. We'll get to Rebecca and Joy in just a moment, but we begin with Stacey Cohan, who's live in Corpus Christi. Stacey.
We're told the hurricane is expected to make landfall within the next 30 minutes. The eye wall is just about 30 miles north of where I am, northeast. And as that happens, President Trump has now signed a disaster declaration. Intense wind and rain pummeled the Texas coast as the outer bands of Hurricane Harvey hit the shore. An early example of the damage to come, the golden arches knocked off the top of a sign outside a McDonald's in Galveston. With the already powerful storm getting even stronger as it moved west, the mayor of Rockport gave a stern warning. Mayor Pro Tem Patrick Rios says those who didn't evacuate should write their names and Social Security numbers on a forearm to help first responders should they find a body. Officials in Houston did not order mass evacuations, but said they are prepared.
We will be here 24/7 until the storm passes and until the danger is passed, because our job, frankly, is to keep the community safe.
You know, we can't control Mother Nature, but prayer has a way of moving things. So let's just stay calm and let's stick together as a family.
The National Weather Service says parts of South Texas could be left uninhabitable for weeks or months. President Trump will keep tabs on the storm from Camp David Friday evening, potentially the first natural disaster of his young administration. Here in Corpus Christi, the winds are really quite ferocious. The streets have not yet begun to fill up with water, but given that this is a rainmaker, that is likely an inevitable fact of life. Reporting live in Corpus Christi, I'm Stacey Cohan. Back to you.
Thank you, Stacey. And right now, thousands of flights are being affected by the storm. We want to show you a live look at the Houston airport. More than 3,300 flights are delayed across the country, with close to 200 flights canceled. And now let's get to Rebecca in the Weather Center. Rebecca, the storm is expected to be a destructive rainmaker, as Stacey described it.
It is, unfortunately, just because of the way that the storm is expected to move. You know, it's starting to make landfall right now. This is the eye. It's going over some of the islands there, but we've already gotten giant bands of rain. Once you get to landfall, you're at halftime, basically. You've already seen a lot of the storm, and there's another half of the storm to go. But this particular hurricane is going to die out and stall out and sit here for 3 days before it moves out. So it's going to rain continuously from that point forward. And as we take a look at the latest 10 p.m. advisory, those sustained winds are at 130 miles per hour. The gusts are up to 155 miles per hour. They just sent out another Hurricane Hunter aircraft recon to fly through it. So when that comes in, I'll show you the latest data from that. The forward motion has slowed. Instead of moving at 10 miles per hour, now it's moving at 8 miles per hour. And here's what we expect. It did become a Category 4 just before making landfall. It will fade into a Category 1 hurricane tomorrow afternoon. So we're talking about almost 24 hours of hurricane force winds for the Texas coastline here. But see, here's where it starts to fade and make a loop. It basically sits here for about 12 hours and then starts to ease off towards Louisiana on Sunday afternoon into Monday afternoon. This is the position on Monday afternoon as well, and that's why we're expecting this torrential rainfall over the next couple of days, because the system isn't moving out. When you look at the rainfall models, they are impressive. Look at Houston getting up to 25 inches of rain potentially by 8 p.m. on Sunday, 13 inches in Victoria, 12 inches in Port Arthur. And so we'll have to watch these rainfall totals. They are going to add insult to injury. And of course, the initial flooding comes from storm surge. Here's Joy with a look at the potential effects of that storm surge.
We wanted to give you an idea of the storm surge that's expected with Hurricane Harvey. I checked with Rebecca. She says in some of the worst hit areas, they can expect to see a storm surge of 9 to 13 feet. Now, I'm standing on the landing in between the two floors here at the local station. Take a look at this tape measure. You can see where 9 feet measures and 13 feet. If you consider a single-story home is usually about 10 feet, then you can imagine the damage that will be done. Kent, Mary?
Certainly puts it into perspective. Well, coming up at 11, we'll have another live update from Corpus Christi as we continue to monitor this monster hurricane. Right now on News4Jax.com, how Harvey compares to other major notorious hurricanes like Katrina and Andrew.
Another big story that we're following this evening. We expect more answers tomorrow when the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says it will update us on today's deadly shooting involving an officer. This is Sky 4 helicopter video of the scene. Family identified the man shot and killed outside Vic's Sandwich Shop on the west side as Daniel Blyler. Channel 4's Ethan Callaway is live in the Paxson neighborhood with what he's learned about Blyler.
And Kent, that shooting happened right here in this parking lot around noon today. It happened directly in front of this sandwich shop and right next door to a daycare. All of this happening to the horror of neighbors living in this neighborhood. And tonight we're learning more about who that man was from his own family. Around noon, JSO says the manager here called police reporting an intoxicated man worried he would get behind the wheel and leave. When an officer got here, he found an armed man in the parking lot who we're told reached for his gun. The officer shot him several times, killing him.
This is his traveling area. We constantly does deliveries for my grandfather with wood and shavings and stuff like that. So I don't understand. I don't know.
Eric Battle tells us that man was his uncle, Daniel Blyler. He says he worked for the family business and was likely working before the shooting. Battle and another relative were overcome with emotion when they learned who was killed. He says it feels painfully familiar with his brother, recently shot by police.
We have my uncle who's taken off the street by I guess somebody just, was like, hey, he's violent, so we're going to shoot him.
In a news conference today, police made clear the man killed pulled a gun on that officer, leaving him no choice but to shoot. Battle confirms his uncle had been to a methadone clinic earlier today and regularly carried a gun.
I just feel like there's no compassion anymore. They're just shooting people and killing people for what, man?
For now, Battle says he wants more information as police continue their investigation. On the west side, Ethan Callaway, Channel 4, the local station.
This is the fourth time law enforcement in Jacksonville shot a suspect in the past 11 days. Also comes the same day Sheriff Mike Williams asked the city council for 100 new officers. His plan calls for 80 officers to be added next year and 20 more in 2019 to deal with the city's growth.
Now covering Nassau County, a Yulee woman says she thought God sent her the perfect man. Now she's filed for divorce after he was locked up on sex crimes charges. 63-year-old Kenneth Carter is in jail right now. That's where Channel 4's Eric Avanier is live with what he's learned about this case.
Well, Kenneth Carter is not going anywhere soon. That's because a judge ordered that Carter remain here locked up at the Nassau County Jail without bond until his case goes to court. The case against 63-year-old Kenneth Carter began in late March of this year when his wife tells me an underage girl came forward with allegations that Carter sexually abused her. Gabrielle Carter says her estranged husband walked out the day after those claims were made.
March 26, he went to work that morning, and I haven't seen him until yesterday in court, and he didn't speak to me. We filed for divorce since he's been gone, since this came about. And I haven't had the courtesy of him answering or calling me.
Ms. Carter says she was heartbroken when she learned her estranged husband had been charged with 5 counts of sexual battery, 2 counts of child molestation, and 1 count of showing obscene materials to a minor.
I thought God had sent me the perfect man. We've been married 11 years. We didn't fight. He was good to me. I had no idea until this information came about, and it breaks my heart because I still love him, but some things can't be changed.
Could you ever forgive him?
I pray for him. I love him. I pray for him, but it's unexcusable.
Now, detectives say the case is still under investigation. Meanwhile, given Carter's age, the number of charges against him, and the severity of those charges, if convicted, he could potentially spend the rest of his life in prison. Reporting live from outside the Nassau County Jail, Eric Avanier, Channel 4, the local station.
An emotional day for the family of a missing pregnant woman. Today, Gainesville police confirmed that bones found last year are those of 23-year-old Hannah Brim. Family had no words for her mother, father, and other relatives. All they had were tears.
Thank you all very much.
Embraced each other as officials spoke about Brim's murder. She was 5 months pregnant when she disappeared in January 2016. Her remains were found in a swamp northeast of Orange Heights in September. However, it was only recently that police were able to make a DNA match.
I think that the family standing beside me is a tribute enough to the kind of person that she was. The pictures never tell enough of a story of who a person was, but the family being here, the family standing by us, and the law enforcement officers that are in this room just really shed a light on what kind of person she really was.
The man last seen with Brim is 28-year-old Nelson Armas, and he's been charged with her murder. Police say that grew out of an argument the two had. Covering Nassau County, she's accused of leaving her 3-year-old son inside a truck when she went drinking at a bar. That Yulee mom, 31-year-old Melissa Lay, has just been sentenced to 4 months in jail after she was convicted of child neglect. The incident happened at the Emerald Goat Bar in July. Lay's boyfriend that has spotted her truck in the parking lot with her son sitting there with the engine running. That child is now with his father.
Channel 4's Eric Avanier spoke to Lay's friend who was called to pick up the child, and how she describes that night. That's coming up tonight at 11.
A neighborhood crime alert caught on camera.
A local man's warning after watching a burglar on his surveillance camera for more than 10 minutes.
And it's one of the busiest areas of our beaches. Soon you may see pay-only areas when you pull up and try to park. I'll fill you in on that next.
And Hurricane Harvey still a potentially catastrophic Category 4. We're monitoring both the radar and our sister station in Houston. Officials say they have no idea how many Corpus Christi residents evacuated the city and nearby low-lying areas, which are now taking the brunt of the storm.